Beamer at Virginia Tech. But we are in a culture right now, in a climate where programs, fans do not have patience, right? Why? Well, social media has made the voices of discontent, it's increased that to the level of volume of a freaking airplane. All right? Used to be athletic directors, presidents, etc. could tell when the fan base wasn't happy. But they weren't overly concerned about it because everybody had an individual voice, right? You got a few people complaining over here, complaining over there. What social media does is it allows the individual voices to band together to become a horde. And when it becomes a stampede, that's when organizations, presidents, teams, programs buckle under pressure. So there is pressure on Shane Beamer this year. However, I think unless Shane Beamer dropped like a 7-5 this year and a 6-6 next year, unless it was like back-to-back mediocre seasons, I really don't think there would be much concern. I would go as far as to say as long as Beamer drops another 8-4 one of the next 2 years, he's going to be absolutely fine. Just give us an 8-4 one of the next 2 years. I think if he does that, the pressure subsides from him a little bit. Let's be honest. The expectations at South Carolina are not what they are at the University of Florida, are not what they are at Clemson University. Dabo is the reason the expectations are higher at Clemson. He created those extra expectations. He coined the phrase, best is the standard. He also says in the same breath, we're not going to hang our heads around here and walk around like we stink when we win an ACC championship. At the same time, folks, again, best is the standard. And when best is the standard and you don't end up in the Final Four 3 years in a row, you are falling short of the standard that you set, right? So we open with you guys with that. 71307 on the carpro.com text line. The phone line for you is 844-326-3663. Who is under more pressure this season, Dabo or Beamer? We want to hear from you, 71307 on the carpro.com text line. Michigan J. Todd wants to know, Mark, are you planning on doing the football upset picks contest again this year? 100%. Texter says, this is Dabo's crying story. There is not a Dabo fan on the line here. Texter says, Mark, Dabo is under more pressure than Beamer this year. He needs to prove that Clemson's success wasn't just in the hands of Tony Elliott and Brent Venables. More so than that, though, Texter, I just think he needs to get Clemson back to where they've been. You know, if he's able to do that, if he's able to do that this year, it looks to me like you can paint the picture like the problem was just DJ, right? DJ Uiagalelei was the issue. Okay, we missed on a quarterback. It happens to the best of us. We got the quarterback situation figured out, got Garrett Riley in here. Now we're on our way. Do I believe that DJ was solely responsible for that? No, I don't. But folks, DJ Uiagalelei did not play like a smart player. You know, I don't know what it was that happened. I remember his father, Big Dave Uiagalelei, joined us on the show once and said that they needed to physically bring DJ into the woods, somewhat against his will, and rough him up a little bit, tackle him, because he wanted to avoid getting tackled. A lot of times when I was watching him at Clemson, that stuck with me, and DJ looked like a guy who didn't want to get tackled. You know, and it was, dude, you're playing football. You're big. You're a big, strong dude. Like, why the happy feet? He didn't play like a smart player for long stretches during his time at Clemson. When the confidence was there, he was a much different player, but I didn't see the confidence there day in and day out. Dabo's been in Clemson forever. but there is a very mild, soft groan. People are not out there with pitchforks, but, let's just say the applause level for Dabo Sweeney the last couple of years has been more of a smattering, right? It hasn't been anything consistent, more of a smattering of applause. Like Lady Gaga tells me, I live for the applause, right? So we open up the show with that question for you guys. Who is under more pressure this year? Is it Dabo or is it one Shane Beamer? Odie, how do you do under pressure usually?
Normally work better under pressure.
Do you?
Yeah, I normally do. Or when the messages come in on the text line that the stream isn't up, that was pressure, and I go, oh yeah, no, there's the mistake I made. But yeah, normally I do. I work pretty good under pressure.
Let's see here. Dabo is under more pressure, a texter says. So there's unrest and anxiety in Clemson. Expectations are the top and the top only. Texter says, Brandon Keeler says, I kind of think both Dabo and Beamer are on a slight hot seat this season to perform better. Brandon, I wouldn't say hot seat because I don't think any of them, either one, could do anything that would get them to lose their jobs this year, right? Like I don't get the sense that is the case. But we open the floor to you guys at 844-326-3663. With that question, we'll keep it right here. With Offsides, Marc Ryan and Diesel Odie sitting in returns right after this here on The Fan Upstate.
For highs and Thursday 92.
Really do appreciate you making us part of your day, here and every day. Let us get to William, who is hanging patiently on the line. William, where are you calling us from today, pal? William, you're on the air. Let's check this out. Okay, wait, Odie, wait. Let's have some fun here, Odie, okay?
Yeah, he's there.
We hear the faint sounds of driving in the background.
Yep.
And what's going to happen here, Odie, my prediction is when the delay catches up, he's going to have an oblique moment, and he's going to realize he's on the air. Now, William strikes me as a guy who doesn't realize there is a delay between live and what comes out over the air. So William is going to have this my prediction is he's going to have this, oh my gosh, moment here in a moment where he's going to realize that he wasn't there when we called for him, Odie.
Now, the other thing is that he could have given us a different name, and it isn't actually William, which is a high possibility.
Yeah. All right, Odie.
You guys actually didn't take my name.
Oh, there he is.
William, we were waiting for you, man. What's good?
My name is actually Blake. Sorry. I was never asked what my name was.
Oh, hello, Blake.
The whole which coach is under the most pressure, the only pressure I see for Dabo is to show the fans that he's not infatuated with DJ anymore. That was the biggest outrage that I had as a big Clemson fan last year and the year before. The guy had one good game in 2 years, and that was against Wake Forest, who didn't have a defense against us. And it was just ridiculous. I mean, he would not bench him. Had he benched him in the Carolina game, we'd have probably beat him. You never know. Beamer, he lucked out with an amazing quarterback. Probably the best I've ever seen at Carolina. Definitely better than Jake Bentley. And I don't think either one of them has pressure for their job, because it takes 3 years for a coach to turn the system around anyways, and then you actually get to see what you've got. Beamer has a chance to go top 15, top 10 guaranteed. Clemson, we've got maybe 4 games that are going to be iffy this year. I'm not going to lie. NC State, Syracuse, Florida State, we'll see which one shows up, and then South Carolina. I mean, Notre Dame, we'll see. It's going to be a grudge match. That's pretty much my thought.
Hey, Blake, great to hear from you, bud. Thanks so much for ringing us up. So, look, there is a difference, okay, between being on the hot seat and being under pressure. Neither of us feel as though Dabo or Beamer's on the hot seat, but they are under pressure, okay? Folks, the honeymoon phase at South Carolina, the honeymoon phase anywhere, lasts into the 3rd season. All right? Believe me when I tell you that if Beamer drops a 6-6 this year or worse, the vibe is going to change, and all off season there's going to be kind of a negative undertone. Believe me when I tell you that. If Dabo fails to make the college football playoff for a 3rd season in a row, you're going to hear, has Dabo lost his fastball? There is pressure on him, right? There's no doubt about that. Just like there's pressure on this show to perform, right? Oh, man, has Mark lost a step, right? I mean, like, there is pressure to perform. Doesn't mean you're mean or hot take artist or any of that stuff. It means that we're telling you the truth, okay? Year 3 is when coaches pop. Can Beamer pop in year 3 like the others have? Or will he not? Dabo, will he hit 3 straight years of missing the CFP? Right? I mean, it's a fair question to ask. You know, are we now in a place where, you know, both of these guys are feeling the heat just a little bit? And I believe the answer is yes. I do. Spur Daddy texts into the show on the carpro.com text line, and he says Dabo is definitely going to have a warmer seat if they have a 3-loss season this year and no college football playoff berth. Texter says, Dabo is from Alabama, so it makes sense that he was sleeping with his mom. See, folks, I am Ron Burgundy. I simply read what's on the teleprompter. He was not sleeping with his mom, Texter. He was not sleeping with his mom. He was in the same bed because they were poor. Okay. Texter says Dabo is under more pressure. There's unrest and anxiety in Clemson. Expectations are the top and the top only. Right? So there you go. 844-326-3663. That is 844-FANFONE. That's 844-FAN-PHONE. So what would alleviate the pressure that both feel? 8-4 for Beamer elevates the bar. Why? Because Muschamp had a 9-4 season, wasn't able to keep that consistent. Went right back downhill after that. On the Dabo front, making the college football playoff removes the pressure from him again for the foreseeable future. And it's interesting to me that it's very clear, it's very evident, it's very obvious where these guys are right now and what they need to do. There is a risk for both fan bases, right? If I said to you, who's at greater risk of their fan base being unhappy, Dabo or Beamer? You'd probably say Dabo, right? Because Dabo's got to achieve something that every team has a less than 50-50 shot of doing. He's got to make the college football playoff this year. There is an or else attached to that. Or else the fan base isn't going to be happy and you won't like them when they're not happy. You know, I feel like for me, this year with South Carolina, 8-4 is a success. 7-5 is a disappointment. But what you're going to encounter is a bunch of Gamecock fans that will try to spin 7-5 as being some sort of success. Don't let them do that. That is a loser's mentality. You've already been better than 7-5. Why would you settle for that now? Yours truly has said 7-5 would be a disappointment. Chris Phillips has said 7-5 would be a disappointment. So let's establish here right now what the criteria is for South Carolina. 6-6 is a failure. 7-5 is a disappointment. 8-4 is a success, and 9-3 is an orgasm. Okay, I mean that's where we're at. Ow. I mean, that's where we're at. Okay, 9-3, 8-4, 7-5, 6-6. Have I made you uncomfortable yet, Odie?
Yes. That's a face I never, ever want to see again. One dude should never see another dude's that face.
So, I mean, that's the criteria, folks. That is the criteria. Don't act like it isn't. Don't act like you don't know what we're talking about here. It makes perfect sense. Dabo's is very simple, success or failure, right? Playoff or no playoff. Beamer, it's attached to the win total that they will have by the end of the season. 71307 on the carpro.com text line is where you can get to us. Bill Bender, Sporting News, joins us at 4:15 today on college football. But, my friends, coming up next, we are going to ask you, the Braves fans, for the top 5 Atlanta Braves. And I'll tell you what I mean, all that and so much more when Offsides continues right after this on the most interactive sports talk station anywhere, right here on The Fan, upstate. And Diesel with Odie sitting in. We are the Fan Upstate. Thrilled to have you guys with us. Truly do appreciate you making us part of your day each and every day here on the show. It was the Mets over the Braves 10-4 yesterday. I don't know, man. Like for me, any sports where you're like, you just shrug your shoulders and you say, oh, well, when your team loses like that means you have too many games. Oh, well, doesn't matter. Still in first place by 11 games. Who cares? Doesn't matter. You play too many games if that's the case. If you lose and it doesn't sting, right? You have too many games. There isn't a sense of urgency there. Every time you say, oh, well, when the Braves lose, that's a sign of baseball's biggest problem. A loss shouldn't be, oh, well. A loss should be face in your hands, head in your hands. Oh, my God, how did this happen? How do we get back on the right track? I mean, that should be the result of an L, right, of a loss. So anyway, my friends, I bring you into this. Because the Braves tied an all-time record for the highest number of All-Stars in a season. They did that this year with 8. And I ask you guys, and I bring you guys into this at 844-326-3663. I'm curious how you guys would size up the 5 best Braves today. 8 All-Stars. Right? But the top 5 is, in my opinion, a little bit easier to figure out than that. Would you or would you not agree? Now, unbelievably, Matt Olson on Atlanta is absolutely shredding the baseball. I mean, what he is doing is incredible. He's making even the most diehard Freddie Freeman apologists apologize for ever doubting this maneuver. Matt Olson leads the big leagues in home runs. He's tied with Shohei Ohtani for that lead with 43. Matt Olson leads the bigs in runs batted in. Matt Olson has 108. Now, part of that lofty number is that there's such a great lineup around him that whenever Matt Olson gets to the dish, there's people on base every single time, and all he has to do is mash when the pitcher is under pressure. But I will throw it out there to you guys, and throw it out to you guys on the carpro.com text line as well, that I would love to hear your top 5 Braves today. Who are they, and how would you rank them? You know, I was sharing with you yesterday that I think Braves fans are in a bit of a pickle in this sense. It feels to me like everybody knows Atlanta's far and away the best team in the bigs this year. So it feels to me like it's World Series or bust. If you're not going to win the World Series this year, right? And we all know how much of a long shot win 2021 was. When are you going to win it? Yet the odds say that the Braves have a, let's be precise here, 73.6% chance of not winning the World Series this year. So are you setting yourself up for heartbreak and despair by having this World Series or bust mantra? I don't know. You know, like we set goals on this show, right? Diesel and I set a goal. Last year, we set the all-time record for most downloads of any show on this station since its inception, right? You guys know we recently, last year, we changed the name of this station. It used to be something else upstate, and now it is the Fan Upstate. And in the entire history of this station, we set the download record for the station last year, and I believe the total was like 63,000 downloads for the year. We this year have set a goal of 100,000 downloads, and we were on pace to hit that until Facebook changed its algorithm on us. Right? I think I think this was a factor of Elon Musk and what he's doing monetizing Twitter. Facebook said, well, wait a minute. You know, Elon's making everyone pay to get boosts of their content. Why aren't we doing the same thing? And then suddenly the content that we put out that was getting, 30, 50, 60 comments on it, those were always reaching 20 or 30,000 people. Now they want you to pay to reach that many people. And so it's hurt our download total, but we still could very well break our own record that Offsides set last year, right? We still could very well break 63,000 downloads for the year, which is something we have every intention of doing, right? The Braves have been, you've got a tough spot here, right? You've got an unbelievably tough spot because you've got to try to get over this hump. You got to try to win the World Series. You got to try to be the record-setting team that everybody knows you can be. And the odds are it's better to take the field than it is to take you. The all-time best home winning percentage in a Major League Baseball season, right, is 65-17. That's the all-time best record for a home team in Major League Baseball. So 65 out of 81 is a winning percentage of 800. To be an elite home team, you typically win 70% of your games. The Braves right now are at about 67% at home. There's only two teams in the bigs who have won twice as many games at home as they've lost. Those teams are the Braves and the Dodgers, and Atlanta is one of them. But back to the task at hand here. Who are, in your opinion, the 5 best Braves this season? Who are they? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I will go first, and then I will hear from you. 844-326-3663. At number 5 on the list, I will go with Austin Riley. Number 4 on my list, I'll go with Ozzie Albies. Number 3, I'm going to go with Spencer Strider. 2, Matt Olson, and 1, Ronald Acuna Jr. Although I will say that Matt Olson, in key statistics, is outproducing Ronald Acuna Jr. this year. But at the same time, Ronald Acuna Jr. gives you the batting average, gives you the 5 tools, gives you all of those different elements. So I've got Ronald Acuna Jr. 1, Matt Olson 2, Spencer Strider 3, Ozzie Albies 4, and Austin Riley 5, waiting for Max Fried to round into form, in which case somebody's getting bumped from this list. But, factor in, folks, like on a team like the Pirates or maybe even the Tampa Bay Rays, Ozzie Albies, Austin Riley are the best players on the team. Bar none, period, end of story, thanks for playing. And on this Atlanta Braves team, they're fending for scraps. The team is that talented. On the carpro.com text line, a texter says, here we go. Fried and Riley, he has got tied for 5. He's got Strider at 4, Albies at 3, Acuna at Olson at 2, and Acuna at 1. Another texter says he's going with Sean Murphy at number 5, Ozzie Albies at 4, Austin Riley at 3, Matt Olson 2, Acuna Jr. at 1. So, texter, you do not have Spencer Strider in your top 5. Are you a Gamecock fan? Is that what's going on here? Because I don't understand not having either Fried or Strider in your top 5. That doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense to me. Texter says, Mark, 7-5 is not okay for Carolina at my house. You at least need to go 8-4 or it's not acceptable. You have got to keep that upward trajectory. Another texter says, Clemson people act like they've been having a losing season. We were still good, only lost 2 games. We did not make the playoff a couple of times, but no hot seat. No, texter, no hot seat. You're right. But I think you would also agree with me, Texter, that, just winning the ACC, given the ACC's reputation, given where Dabo has set the bar, is not going to pacify national championship hungry Clemson fans, right? I mean, and if they fail to make the playoff for the third year in a row, folks can wonder if Dabo has lost his fastball, right? I mean, there's pressure on all of us, right? There's pressure on all of us to perform, to produce. Yes,
where would you put Michael Harris?
He's right there.
Would you put him right in there?
He's right there. I'd probably have Freed 6 and Harris 7.
Okay.
Right now.
Okay.
How about you?
Yeah, no, I've been doing my homework. I've been studying up.
There you go.
And I just, is this his first? Is it a rookie year? Is it his first year?
No,
It's his second
not.
year.
Yeah.
And he's been doing okay by the looks of things. He hasn't been doing terribly bad. Maybe he's one to watch out for. Maybe next year he might make it into your top 5.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. There were folks, Odie, who had him as the NL MVP this year, Michael Harris.
Okay.
So it's not that he's having a bad season, but Matt Olson, Ronald Acuna Jr. are having career years.
Gotcha.
And Michael Harris is having more of a typical season for him right now. Mad Craft texts into the show on the carpro.com text line, and he says, in this order, I'm going Strider Freed 5th. I didn't say you guys get 6. I got a couple of you guys splitting your 5th vote. You have 5. You don't get to split your 6th. Get out of here with this. Strider and Freed, he says, is 5th. Albies 4th. Riley 3rd. Olson 2nd. Acuna 1st. So let's see here. We have the same 5, although you have shoved Freed in there because I only gave myself 5. Texter says John Rocker is still the best Brave. One of my most embarrassing moments on the air happened with John Rocker. We had him on the air in Atlanta, and for some reason I brain farted that he had used steroids. And I asked him how he felt about steroid use running rampant in baseball, and he gave us a really weird answer. It was weird. Every once in a while, folks, your brain temporarily forgets things that especially if you haven't heard of those things in a few years, right? Texter says, let's see here, Acuna, Olson, Riley, Albies, Murphy. When the 32 Yankees set the home winning record, there was no free agency, and there were 16 teams in the league. The Braves are historically good in a much tougher era. I've enjoyed them this year more than ever. So says a texter. Great text, texter. Great text. And I can't dispute any of that, right? No free agency, only 16 teams. But I'd like to see them, I'd like to see, can you win 3 times as many games at home as you lose? Is the ceiling twice as much as you lose when you're playing at home? All right, my friends, we have got a loaded 4 o'clock hour for you. Coming up next on the show, what do you say? We predict the conference champions in 2023. This is the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Marc Ryan and Diesel with Odie sitting in, and we are the Fan Upstate.
For truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. You can't handle the truth. This show is for you. Offsides with Marc Ryan.
This is...
What's good, my friends? This is the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Marc Ryan and Diesel Odie sitting in, and we are the Fan Upstate rolling on until 7 o'clock p.m. today. Always do appreciate you making us part of your day. Thank you so much for making this happen. Here's how you can take part in the show. You can give us a ring at 844-326-3663. Bill Bender of the Sporting News joins us in the next segment. Don't laugh, Odie. Joins us in the very next segment of the show. And at 4:40 on the show today, we have got why the battle of the sexes isn't anywhere close to being even. All right, we've got yet another example of that coming your way. Yes, Odie.
Yeah, the name Bill Bender just always reminds me of Futurama. Just straight in at that robot running around the place, smoking cigars.
Yeah.
Why does a robot need to smoke cigars? A great show, never got some of the stuff in it.
You would, as a little aside here, Odie.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe, speaking about robots and the whole, alternative technology. Should we have automated balls and strikes in baseball? And then we've got the whole alien conversation.
Yes.
We've had the U.S. intelligence agency.
Yeah.
Say that they have craft and they have biologics.
Yep.
Meaning they have bodies.
Yes.
And we actually have people in our audience that say, pics or it didn't happen. And then if you sent them pictures, they would say you doctored the photo.
You photoshopped them.
So it's
yeah.
I keep going back to the fact that if you're accusing the U.S. intelligence agency of lying,
right?
If they were going to lie, wouldn't they say they didn't have something when they did? Why would they lie and say we've got something when they don't have it?
Well, maybe it's something to do with the life of Brian. Remember in the life of Brian, Brian says, "I'm not the Messiah." And everybody says, "Only a true Messiah would say that you're not the Messiah." And he says, "Okay, then I'm not the Messiah. He is the Messiah." It's like, maybe they're trying to double bluff us.
No.
Or maybe there is actually, I believe that there is definitely something.
There's got to be.
Yeah. The universe, as much as everybody likes to believe, Earth and the universe wasn't made just for us. There's so many billions of life forms out there. They found life forms on Mars. They found, there are worms and they're little parasites and whatever on Mars, but it's on a different planet. It's a different life form. Ta-da.
Right. Yeah. No, 100%.
And they have pictures of that.
When Booger McFarland on Monday Night Football was my co-host in Tampa, Odie, he would say to me, we had a 4-person show. We had myself, Kyle, the producer, Booger, and Roller Girl, who was doing sports updates. And the three of us couldn't believe that Booger didn't believe in other life. And Booger didn't believe that we did. And he goes, now, I think there could be like bacteria or like spores on another planet, but nothing like what we have. And I'll tell you this, Odie, it's my favorite anecdote on this is that before here, I lived in Houston.
Yes.
When I was in Houston, I got to hang out with some NASA astronauts.
Yeah.
Okay. These guys, you find them on social media. They've got hundreds of thousands of followers because it's so hard to become an astronaut.
Yes, it is.
Well, the one that I spoke to had 6 months at the International Space Station. He was up in space for literally 6 months. And you talk about a high pressure job, Odie. Some people think this is high pressure. That one, you're outside in space, working on the space station.
Yep.
You rip your uniform and you die.
Yes.
Okay?
Looking down at the flat Earth.
Right. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You rip your uniform and you die. But so I said to him, I said, look, I've got to ask you the question you get asked a million times, other life forms. What's your take? And I'll never forget this, Odie. He said, it is the most arrogant of American beliefs that we are the only ones out there. And he said, when you get up there to the space station and you see what we see, you realize that the impossibility is not that there's other life. The impossibility is that there isn't.
Yes.
That's what he said. He goes, we are a speck.
Oh, minuscule.
And there's millions of other specks that you can see. And it just, you realize that it's like, man, the small-minded thinking that must exist for people to think we're the only beings out there.
Yeah,
You know?
we talked about it on the Upstate Pulse on Saturday nights, myself and Lonzo. And we talked about it that it's impossible. We cannot be the only life forms, and we've gone down the route of the Star Trek side of it. That is the prime directive. You don't make contact with beings that aren't as advanced in levels as the beings that are going to be contacting, and that's probably where we are. We're probably not advanced enough to be contacted. We're like they drive past Earth and they lock their windows, just in case.
Well, I mean, obviously not, because they've been here and we haven't been there.
Do you think
right?
do you think they meant to be here? Do you think when they crashed, he's like ringing his dad, like, "Dad, I'm after crashing on Earth. Send help."
A lot of them are not crashing. Yeah,
Oh, no.
a lot of them are not crashing. So that's a whole nother deal there.
But
And-
I'll just tell you one little thing before we leave
Sure.
it. Something really cool. I had a piece of titanium in my hand that is now in space.
no way.
Do you remember the car that Elon Musk launched into space?
Yeah.
I made parts of that.
No way.
Yes, sir.
That's incredible.
That's my little claim to fame.
Where were you when you made that?
I was working for a company. I have a doctorate in engineering, and I was working for another company at the time. And that was something that
You
I
have a
did.
doctorate in engineering?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, it becomes clear that my rank of intelligence here at Odyssey Greenville has fallen even lower than I thought it was before.
Oh no, I've got the paper. It doesn't mean anything. I just have the piece of paper. It just means that I was able to go to college for 7 years nonstop.
What I'm about to say, Odie, what I'm about to say, by the way, it took me 7 years and I didn't get a graduate degree. So what does that say for me?
You had fun.
Yeah. What I'm about to say is not here to be an anti-God message, anti-Jesus message, because I understand that some people out there take interpretations literally. But sometimes I wonder, Odie, if like the higher power, God, that made the planets and that made civilization and made the galaxies and the universe, etc., is kind of looking at us like an experiment. Like, how long does it take us to ruin the earth, right? Like, and so, he's had these experiments going on for billions of years, and he goes, okay, he looks at all his test subjects under the snow globe,
Yeah.
right? And this planet looks like it's going to be going up in smoke in about 3,000 years.
Yeah.
This planet looks like it's going to be going up in smoke, but he gives us the planet.
Yep.
And then he watches us systematically ruin the place that we live.
Well, we can go deeper than that, and maybe we're not the first, trial run that he had.
Right. No, 100%. I don't. How do we know that we are? How do we know that he doesn't have other pet projects that are 10,000 years old?
Or even projects here on this planet that were even further back,
Sure.
before the dinosaurs,
Sure.
just kind of like, let's try it again, see what happens.
And so it's like you wonder, like, if the beings that God creates, if they always ruin the planet, because like if we keep going the way that we're going, this planet will be ruined by the year 3000, right? I mean, we're in the year 2023. If we keep going this way, the planet will be ruined by the year 3000, right?
It's it's not looking great at this juncture. It's not looking absolutely fantastic. I mean, there's probably stuff we can do, but I think we're opening a complete can of worms if we keep going down that avenue. But yeah, I mean, you didn't expect this on your sports show on a Tuesday afternoon.
No, you didn't. But there's a reason the show is called Offsides, because you never know where the conversation is going to take you. I still can't believe that we have people in our audience that the U.S. intelligence agency can talk to you and can tell you we have a ship and have the beings. And you guys still hit me with, I don't believe it. No, liars. I don't believe. He's telling you we've got them. Okay?
What do you think is going to happen when they actually show us, or when they say, like, if they're in communication with the extraterrestrial beings, if they're saying, okay, look, we've told the general population, we've told them that you're here, go for it, do it, just see what happens. And they just start flying around and coming down and going into the store, buying Wendy's, and
it is unnerving, isn't it? Right, buying Wendy's, right?
Yeah.
Would they get the biggie bag for $5?
I think they might.
Yeah. Now, do I get the sense they're just so far
Yeah,
far
they're-
advanced from us?
I
though?
mean, with all of the stuff that we have, the advances that we've made and the ways we protect ourselves, I don't think they're going to be worth anything. You know what I mean?
But it is unnerving, Odie, is it not, to have the realization that, another civilization could be planning our extinction at this moment,
It could be.
and there would be nothing we could do about it,
Yeah, there could be.
right?
There
There would
could be.
literally be nothing we could do about it.
Like-
And the reason why, sorry, go
no,
ahead.
no. I'm just saying it could be a planet full of dogs, or full of a planet without dogs, and they've seen ours and they want ours because they know how amazing they are. It could be
Yeah.
something along those lines.
They have our own government has gone into extreme technological advancement mode, trying to compete with some of the aircraft that we've now seen. Some of which have been described as Tic Tacs that can go 60 miles in 60 seconds, roughly
Yeah.
a mile a
Yeah,
second.
I was watching
right?
that. Yeah.
Right. So we are now in a mode where we're trying to be competitive with that.
Well, we can't do it.
Also, the intelligence agency spokesperson said that there have been very disturbing encounters, including attempts to injure our
Yep.
people. So it's, guys, like at this point, a few weeks ago, I shared with you that I can't believe this isn't all anyone is talking about. And then I realized it's because that people don't believe what they're being told anymore. And that's something that has really been an unfortunate development over the last 10 years in our American culture. But if you did have a picture, Odie,
Yeah.
the first thing people would say is, I don't believe the picture.
Well, that's it. I mean, I do a bit of photography when I'm not behind these desks, and I can make photographs do anything I want them to do. I could put anything into a photograph. So I know how easy it is to manipulate photographs. And that's exactly what people are going to say. I mean, I think you've got the two trains of thought. You've got the people who say, no, I don't believe it. It's fake. They're lying to us. They're covering up for something that somebody else is after doing. And then you've got the other train of thought that's kind of where I am. And if it is true, well, there ain't nothing we can do about it. So, you just live with it, and all hail our alien overlords.
That's it. That's it. I mean, we could all be serving a different planet sometime soon. You never know. It's crazy to think about, though. It's crazy to think about. They're not coming over here often, but they are coming here. Texter says, Mark, I bet Dr. Odie can't beat you in Pop-A-Shot. JD, I'll have you know. So, Odie, my wife got me my Christmas present,
Right.
and she got it for me a few weeks ago. And it is a
it's August.
Okay. Thank you for the heads up.
I just thought I
Appreciate
was
that.
after missing a few months.
Yeah. Well, she got it for me because it was on special, and it wouldn't be on special later on.
Gotcha.
Which was a convenient excuse for me to get my Christmas present early.
Sounds good.
And it is a Pop-A-Shot. And it is a sweet Pop-A-Shot that is electric with metal rims and real basketballs.
Ooh.
And it's in our garage right now. And I've had it for about a little less than 2 weeks.
Right.
Okay. If you score 50 in a minute, it gives you extra time.
Okay.
And then in that extra time, if you get to 80, you get another extra time.
Okay.
But they don't make it easy to get to 50. Like, you get 50 less than half the time, right?
Gotcha.
So anyway, my record had been 89, and last night I got a new record. It's now 98.
Okay.
So
that's 98 shots.
98. Well, the shots are either 2 or 3 points.
Okay. Okay.
In the last 10 seconds, they give you 3 points when you make a shot.
Gotcha.
So I am 2 points away from 100. I was out of my mind for like this minute and 20 seconds. I think I only missed like 3 shots. I feel like I'm getting close to what the maximum is. And then I'm going to watch this video of some guy with 2 hands just throwing basket in after basket in, and I'll have no shot to beat it. Let's see here. Mark, you are talking like God is evil science guy, really. Believer, I'm just saying that sometimes it feels to me like we're part of a larger experiment. Texter says, Fermi paradox. We absolutely can be alone. The universe is a very hostile place to raise life. Not saying I don't believe in aliens, just stating possibilities. I appreciate that, Texter, but again, a NASA astronaut told me that the impossibility is that there isn't life elsewhere. That's from a NASA astronaut. I'm sorry, but I'm going to take his word. Okay? We've got Bill Bender of the Sporting News joining us next, right here on the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Marc Ryan and Diesel with Odie sitting in, and we are the Fan Upstate. Who and imitation is the most sincere form of flattery, Bill. We took this from you, gave you credit, but you asked a question last week or the week before that was really interesting to me, and I wanted to get your answer to that. Who do you blame for all the change and the conference realignment? Where do you place the blame? I thought that was a really interesting question, Bill, and I'd love to hear you answer that.
Well, that stemmed from an argument with my editor, not an argument, debate.
There you go.
He said it was the Big Ten, and I'm like, hey man, the Big Ten didn't take Texas and Oklahoma and then take them to the SEC, or the Big Ten didn't have a lack of leadership like the Pac-12 did, or the Big Ten isn't in a conference like Notre Dame is, and Notre Dame clearly meddling in the ACC. By the way, I think it's everybody, and let's be real, it is. For better and worse driven by TV. I say for better because the product is much better than what I grew up with, but the networks are the ones kind of pulling the strings here, right, behind the scenes. So it makes for that. I think everybody's involved, and that's who to blame for the latest cycle of realignment.
Do you feel like any part of the change to college football is positive? Are there any aspects of this that you like, be it the transfer portal, NIL, conference realignment? Is any of this positive? Because I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, Bill, but right. when you mess with something that I love, I'm typically a guy that doesn't like change.
I like that there's goes all the way back to the BCS. I do like the idea of a championship game. That it's not Michigan's playing in the Rose Bowl, Nebraska's playing in the Orange Bowl. We have a split national championship. I think that's one thing we have accomplished, that there is a definitive championship game. Now the cost of that is a lot in tradition. So, I mean, it's not everything I don't like. I also am one of those guys, I'm torn because I'm the guy texting my buddies on a Saturday, and I'll be the first one to admit I do this. I'd be like, why are we watching Ohio State beat Maryland by 60 points? But I guess that was happening in the 70s too.
Yeah. I hear you. Bill Bender joining us from the Sporting News. Bill, when you consider Clemson and Florida State's plight, and Florida State's been more open about, hey, we might need a way out, do you believe that way out is going to present itself for the Clemsons and Florida States of the world on this 2036 grant of rights?
Well, only if the SEC wants them. And I say that because I understand what Florida State's doing. I didn't like one of these people that was like making fun of them or saying, know your place. And I know exactly what Florida State sees. If I'm the athletic director, what do I see? I see Florida getting a lot more money than I'm getting. I see my program trying to compete with an in-state program that's going to have a lot more money. And from Clemson's vantage point, and like you said, they haven't been nearly as vocal about it, they've got to be seeing that South Carolina gets that. So I understand that end of it. And if I'm Greg Sankey, I would contemplate it because I saw what the Big Ten just did. And do I take Clemson and Florida State and add everything for Florida and South Carolina, make the league even stronger? Those are two national championships. They've won, 5 national championships since 1993 between the two of them? That's pretty good.
It is. It is. So you're saying, Bill, that if you're Greg Sankey, you'd make the move now?
No, I would think about it. I don't know that but you know what? I don't question what Greg does because from COVID through expansion, through transfer portal, he just seems to know the right time to do things. And he's very good at it, and he's very savvy and very smart. In fact, I would go as far as say, if college football ever did go toward a commissioner route, which they should definitely consider in the new chapter of college football, he would be the guy I would do it.
Bill Bender joining us from the Sporting News. Bill, can you, to the best of your ability, bring us behind the scenes as to how these network conversations go? To me, it seems imperative that, like ESPN should renegotiate the grant of rights because they want happy customers in Clemson and Florida State. And then, they're going back, the ACC's going back, hey, what would you give us if we added Stanford and Cal? ESPN says not much. And then you've got like the anchors. I saw Matthew Berry's rant about being upset that the Pac-12 was going away, and he's an Arizona State grad. Are we to think that, the Kirk Herbstreits of the world are really broadcasting for an entity that is pulling the strings for everything that's happening in college football right now?
Well, I mean, part of it too is, the people that I understand Matt Berry's point, being an Arizona State fan or alum, but people weren't watching it. People can say they were watching it, but the bottom line is there were 40 conference games among the Power Five that had a Nielsen rating of 2 or better last year, and the Pac-12 had 2 of those games. 2. Washington, Oregon, which was an awesome game, and then UCLA, USC, which, if we're being honest, we were all watching to watch Caleb Williams. So it's tough, and I understand, but one of the problems the Pac-12 has had is that ability to market its superstars and the ability to, get that exposure on their conference. And some of that's their fault, and some of it's not.
Bill Bender joining us here on Offsides, the Fan Upstate. Local question for you here, Bill. I believe there's a difference between being on the hot seat and being under pressure. I believe neither Dabo nor Shane Beamer are on the hot seat. I think both are under a degree of pressure. Dabo to avoid a 3-season, no playoff berth skid that would have people wondering perhaps if he's lost his fastball. And then Beamer, year 3 is when the honeymoon phase typically ends for coaches. And year 3 is traditionally, when you look at and study new coaches, when the coaches that are going to hit, a lot of them pop in year 3. Do you have a sense for who's under more pressure between the two?
That's a great question. Probably Dabo in the immediate, because they did lose that game. Their playoff credentials are being questioned a little bit. I say that in terms of, it's almost like we take Clemson ACC championships for granted now. I think that's fair. And then with South Carolina, it's just, okay, you've shown you can win some games. Now they've got to push into a division where you're contending with the Georgia behemoth, and it really is. And Tennessee's turned a corner. So I would say there's more pressure on Dabo this year. And I think that started with last year losing to Notre Dame, South Carolina, and then the bowl game.
We're now recruiting kids in 2026 and beyond, Bill. Julian Lewis commits to USC today. Lincoln Riley, 3 Heisman Trophy winners already. Any feedback, any insight on this get?
Now, I'll take a look at him, but that scares me because my son's a 2029 grad, so he's getting close. Megan, and you saying we've talked for years, it's just got me thinking, man, I'm starting to get old. So, and I think I enjoy it, but yeah, I mean, obviously Lincoln Riley, he's got the easiest job in the world in terms of recruiting quarterbacks, doesn't he? You just say, hey, I had Baker and Tyler and Caleb and Jalen, and just come play quarterback for me. Pretty easy pitch.
That's it. I was reading today, Bill, your SEC football predictions article, which came out yesterday. It seems pretty logical, pretty straightforward to me. Is there anything that you wrestled with in the SEC when making those predictions?
I'm too chalky. I always am, because some curveball is going to come along the way. But I mean, it's hard not to pick Georgia. It's hard not to pick Alabama. I'm struggling a little bit with LSU and Alabama, because LSU's got a ton of program momentum. They beat Alabama last year. But I keep saying, since 2010, Alabama's only lost 5 games at home. So if you're going to go into Bryant-Denny, you better be ready to go. And they play Tennessee, LSU, and Texas at home this year. So I still like Alabama's chances. I don't want to say we're undervaluing Alabama. We know how good they are. I think people are off them a little bit.
Bill Bender joining us. Bill, what conference, in your opinion, has the best chance of producing a surprise champion? Last year, I would go with the Big 12 and Kansas State.
Probably right back to the Big 12. I mean, because I think the Pac-12 will be either Washington or USC, Clemson or Florida State in the ACC, Alabama, Georgia, LSU. I wouldn't be surprised. Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State. Whereas in the Big 12, I could go all the way down to, honestly, and say I could see Kansas winning the Big 12. And whether it's Kansas State, Oklahoma, Texas, TCU repeating. I think they have, and not even counting the new guys like Cincinnati. The Big 12 is going to be a lot of fun. Is it going to be as high level as the SEC or the Big 10? No, but I still think it's going to be an entertaining source of college football. And like you said, for traditionalists like me and you, that's a good thing.
Do you get the sense, we initially thought, Bill, that with name, image, and likeness, that could see 4 stars leave at a place like Alabama and end up at group of 5s, leveling the playing field to a degree. It seems like, though, it's kind of having the reverse effect, that the rich are getting richer, that the middle class is getting squeezed. Do you get the sense, like I do, that the gap between the Power 5 and the group of 5 is growing? And would there be any suggestion that you have that might level the playing field there a little bit?
It's definitely growing between the 5 and the 5, and there's gaps growing within the Power 5, honestly. And I'm an Ohio University alum, and I'm realistic about it. I still want to watch the Bobcats, though. I think one of the great compromises, and this is strictly as a fan of my university, I'm glad they play on Tuesday and Wednesday in November because I get to watch them. And otherwise, I probably wouldn't be watching them on a Saturday. So if you have the self-awareness of that and knowing that eventually maybe they might have to do their own playoff at some point, I'd still watch it. I mean, to me, it's like if it was a FBS Division II semifinal versus the Camellia Bowl against like Troy, that's what I'm picking because I want the one where I can actually get a trophy.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that entirely. Bill, you guys recently came out with the preseason All-American team with the Sporting News. Can you share with us what jumped off the page to you there?
Oh, it was fun to put together. It's stressful. It's fun. I've had a chance to do that. We've had an All-American team since 1936. So it is a duty that I take very seriously because I enjoy it. And it's just hard. And I always tell people, what the hardest position to pick is defensive backs. It just, for whatever reason, there's always more corners and more safeties that we can jam onto that team. And it makes for some really hot debates. Now, I shouldn't say this on the air, but a few years ago, I left Sauce Gardner off our first team, and I still hear about it to this day. He's pretty good with the Jets. So that's one that's going to haunt me for a while, I think.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think so, to say the least. Bill Bender joining us here on Offsides. Marc Ryan and Diesel, the Fan, upstate. Week 1, LSU, Florida State, Bill. For some reason, I lean heavy LSU here, but I can't fully give you the whys yet. It's just a lot of my picks are feel-based, and I have a feeling about this one, Bill. How do you see this one going in terms of, the last one was in Louisiana. This one is in Orlando, closer to Florida State's neck of the woods, but LSU having the revenge factor at play.
Well, I'm with you. And I think part of my feel for it is that LSU front 7. They'll have Mason Smith back. Remember, he got hurt in that game last year. Harold Perkins. They picked up Omar Speights from Oregon State. And, you feel for it. So I've been watching these games on ESPN. They had that top 25 countdown. And the first week of the season for me, it takes like 20 plays to watch a game and kind of see it and see the speed and, okay, which team's faster, which team's controlling the line of scrimmage. And I think in that game, I'm leaning LSU too, but I feel like once I start watching it and you get 10 plays in, like, oh man, Florida State's controlling this game. So either way it could happen, but I'm leaning on the Tigers.
Yeah, I would absolutely do the same thing there. Folks, Bill Bender is one of my favorite writers on college football in the country. Always interesting stuff. He's got his SEC predictions article up right now, and he's a great follow on Twitter as well by the same name, at Bill Bender. Bill, always do greatly appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much. Have a great start to the season.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me on. Take care.
All right, you got it. Take care as well. Bill Bender, my friends, of the Sporting News, always with some great insights, always with some great information. And, I value, guys, I'll tell you this, Odie. I had, okay, what do I want to say here? Okay, I will share with you the conversation I had here. Sometimes, like, I would just prefer honesty, right? Like, I'm always like a guy that, like, just shoot straight with me, right? Just give me the skinny. If you don't want to come on, just say you don't want to come on. So I said to somebody today, I asked them if they could come on the show, and they said, I'm booked up most of today and tomorrow. Not sure I have much to provide here. I don't cover recruiting. So I wrote back and I said, okay, well, how about Thursday at 4 p.m.?
Yep.
And they said, I'm traveling back Thursday mid-morning through late afternoon. I'm supposed to land at 3:55, so probably cutting it close. Okay. So then I write back, I can do 4:35 on Thursday, if that works for you. I can do 5:35
Yep.
if that works for you. To which I get a read receipt, but no response anymore. And it's just like, I asked Bill Bender, he says, sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like, if you don't want to come on, don't come on. But like, just, you don't have to give me a bunch of excuses. Mark, I'm not really doing radio right now. Cool. Just I can take it. But like, it's just, in the meantime, that happened over 2 or 3 hours, Odie. I'm just trying to get a guest for the show today. And then at about 2:00, I text Bill. He says, sure. Bill's a national guy. This was a national guy. Just shoot straight. You don't like the show. You don't want to come on. Whatever the reason is, it's cool. Just be honest. That's all. 71307 is where you guys can get to us on the carpro.com text line. Why, my friends, we, and I mean me and you with the Twig and Giggleberries, are losing the battle of the sexes battle worse than we ever have previously. That is next. This is the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Marc Ryan and Diesel with Odie sitting in, and we are the Fan Upstate. It's Offsides. Marc Ryan and Diesel Odie sitting in. We are the fan upstate. Big thanks to Bill Bender of the Sporting News joining us here on Offsides. So, man, check this out. This is crazy to me. All right. So we're in a mode of equality right now as a nation, right? Even though there is never a guys' night at the bar, there's always ladies' night, right? Because as the saying goes, the milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, right? There's a ladies' night because if the guys drink free, the girls aren't going to come. If the girls drink free, the guys are going to come. Well, what's the way to get both genders, right? That is one example of how we don't have equality. The women's soccer team has fought for equality in terms of pay for the U.S. women's national team for quite some time. And we are doing a hell of a job as a nation at limiting or erasing the wage gap between the sexes, right? We're doing a decent job of doing that. But every once in a while, folks, you see who really has the power. You see who really has the power. It's interesting. I took I was at a country concert at the Well recently with the wifey. And there's this theory that the person who is leaning, right, is the person who is leaning in the photo is the one who doesn't have the power in the relationship. And I was leaning towards my wife, and some fan sent me a picture, and he drew like the green line, and I was leaning, and it meant I don't have the power in my marriage or relationship or whatever that means. So I'm here to share this with you guys because this is, in my opinion, all the evidence you need to know that we are not winning the battle of the sexes. And by we, I mean you and me, the twig and giggleberry possessing creatures out there that grow facial hair. According to Brandon Marcello, the most popular wedding date this year is, wait for it, September 23rd. Now, what does that mean? The fact that the most popular wedding date is September 23rd. That means, my friends, that you and I and everybody else who fight against fall weddings have lost. We have fought against fall weddings. Get out of our football season. I have always advised Major League Baseball, stop playing in August, run your playoffs in August, get out of the way of football season. We don't pay attention to you come football season. Folks, the most popular date for a wedding is September 23rd. That is week 4 of the college football season, okay? What games are week 4 this year of the college football season? Oh, I don't know. Florida State and Clemson? Ohio State and Notre Dame? Ole Miss at Alabama? Iowa at Penn State? I don't know. No games that you would really care about, right? Are you kidding me? Listen, Odie, we are losing this battle. Okay, we are losing this battle. Now, some of you might say, well, Marc Ryan, didn't you get married in the fall?
Yeah.
Oh, I did. But it also ties into something I shared with you yesterday in the top 5 at 5. Remember, I may have read the eulogy. We got married last October because there was a concern that Angela's dad wouldn't make it if we got married in the spring, this spring. And that turned out to be accurate, unfortunately. So I did do that. I got a pass from Josh Pate of Late Kick with Josh Pate on getting married in the spring. But folks, can you guys grow a pair out there? Seriously, all of you, grow a pair. You know, allow me to introduce some content on this show that'll put some hair on your peaches. Okay? All right? Or allow Odie to give you a little flick on the plums. Because this is ridiculous. Who is agreeing to this? Weddings on September 23rd.
Well, you see, coming from my standpoint of being extremely Irish for the weather that we have over here, I mean, we got married in November, which was, I mean, it's fine. But I could not have a June, July, or an August wedding. I would literally just be a leprechaun puddle. And that's like, you know, I just couldn't stand it. And as well as that, I mean, if it was back in Ireland and we go back to rugby, you could watch the rugby match as part of the ceremony. You could do you, yes, we do. And then you go to the hotel and watch it. But then again, we have our weddings at 11 o'clock in the morning and our weddings last about 4 days.
Oh, my goodness
Yes.
gracious. Oh, wow.
I can tell you more about that in the next hour because that'd be kind of interesting, I suppose.
Oh, no. Yeah. No, look, Odie, I hear you, buddy. I hear
Yeah.
you. Guys, look, Texter says you're hiking up a mountain of trouble, worrying about who has the power in a relationship. Really think who asked who to marry who, Mark. Well, the guy asks the girl to marry who. Okay, she has the power because she's got the gold. Well, of course, but it was just interesting to see that in a photo. Like I was leaning, and the person who is leaning does not have the power. You know. Who is the hip hop band that sings "I Have the Power"? What hip hop group was that? Let's see here. Texter says, check out week 8. I'd be RSVPing no on that weekend. Yeah, what's going on week 8? I mean, hit us with some of the games that are there going on that weekend in week 8 of college football. But guys, we're losing. If the most common wedding day is in freaking fall, when women all around the country know that we don't want to have weddings in the fall, we're losing. We've lost. Okay? I just want to confirm that to you. We have lost the battle of the sexes. All right? We are all getting pulled around by the short hairs. And we've got to stop allowing that to happen effective immediately. We've got the top 5 at 5 coming your way next, right here on the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Marc Ryan and Diesel with Odie sitting in right here on the Fan Upstate. What's good, my friends? This is the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Marc Ryan and Diesel with Odie sitting in. And we are the Fan Upstate rolling on until 7 p.m. today. You guys have a ton of choices in terms of your viewing, your watching, your sports media consumption. We certainly do appreciate you making us part of your day each and every day here on the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. 844-FAN phone. That's 844-326-3663 is the number to get to us on the show. And it is time for us to do that jam. We call it the Top 5 at 5, the top 5 biggest sports stories of the day, the top 5 topics we're discussing. Ladies and gentlemen of the Upstates, Offsiders, the Top 5 at 5 starts right now. Hit it. So, Netflix recommendations for you here, okay? Sports related. First of all, Swamp Kings is now out on Netflix. It's behind the scenes look on the Urban Meyer era at the University of Florida. I can't wait to watch it, man. It's going to be amazing. But I got into another one last night. It's called The Coach's Playbook on Netflix. Have any of you guys seen that? The first 3 episodes, one was on Doc Rivers. One was on Jill Ellis, the former U.S. women's national team soccer coach. And the third one was on Jose Mourinho, the most successful soccer coach in Europe, who was arrogant AF. But I found him, you know of him? I found him wildly entertaining in terms of what he was saying. But this guy, I've never seen anybody, Odie, that more fits the description, walks around like his stuff doesn't stink.
Yeah, he used to call himself the chosen one. Seriously, like he was, a lot of radio stations in Ireland used to take the proverbial out of him, and like his accent is, I'm the chosen one. I go in, I do what I have to do. My team is amazing, and we win, and that is the end of it.
Yeah, that's exactly what he sounds like.
Yeah,
that's exactly what he sounds like, man.
Kind of what he wants.
And so, but it was wildly entertaining. You learned a lot about Doc Rivers. You learned a lot about how these guys tick and how they communicate with their star players. Doc Rivers had to get Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, and Kevin Garnett, 3 leaders, 3 alphas, to operate as a team. Jill Ellis had to completely change course when the U.S. lost in the Olympics. She said, everyone's bunkering down against us and like taking away our lanes, and I need players who can play better in traffic. And so she started experimenting and doing a whole host of a bunch of different lineups. And she ultimately won back-to-back World Cups. And then Jose Mourinho was the ultimate guy. You're not going to tell him what to do, right? And he's a little bit over the line of between confidence and cockiness, but players loved playing for him. And he became the first coach ever to win championships at the 3 major leagues in European soccer. So I give you my highest recommendation there, A Coach's Playbook, right now on Netflix. Next up, at number 4, Dabo Swinney dropping the hammer. Now, Dabo was speaking to his team the other day and spoke to his team in more candid terminology than we're used to hearing from one Dabo Swinney. We'll step out of the way. We'll see what you make of this.
What have I learned in 30 years getting my PhD? How many young people tell me exactly what they want most in their life, but then they give it up for what they wanted most? The 30-year-old version of you's count on you. I love what you said. There's nothing worse than having to go back. First of all, I didn't have anywhere to go back to. Where was I going to go back to? My mom is sleeping in the bed with me as a sophomore, junior, and a senior in college, sleeping in the same bed. Where am I going to? I got nowhere to go. I know what it costs. There ain't no guarantees for when we chase it. We're going to chase it. This is your last shot. Every class since 2013 has won a national championship. Yeah. Y'all on the clock. That's it. 15. Why not?
Did you catch that there at the end? Every class since 2013 has won a national championship here at Clemson. Here is your last shot. I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know. That, to me, jumped off the page. It absolutely jumped off the page. Calling them out, putting them under pressure, all of which brings to light a question from us to you. Because we do not believe that either Shane Beamer nor Dabo Swinney is on the hot seat, but we do believe they're under pressure. Shane Beamer to get back to Dabo to get back to the college football playoff. Shane Beamer to continue the upward trajectory because the honeymoon phase ends in year 3 for college head coaches. So we ask you guys, which coach is under more pressure in 2023? Is it Shane Beamer? Is it Dabo Swinney? Drop us your answers on the carpro.com text line. Next up, my friends, my brothers and sisters in sports, we, the men of the upstate, are losing the battle of the sexes. It was revealed this week that the number one day for weddings in 2023 is what? The number one day for weddings. I can't even freaking believe this. Burns my brownies to such a degree. Ridiculous. This really stains my hands. The most popular wedding date this year is September 23rd, according to The Knot, as in tie the knot. Week 4, that's week 4 of the college football season. That features Florida State against Clemson, Ohio State at Notre Dame, Ole Miss at Alabama, Iowa at Penn State. When are we going to stand up to our ladies and say we're not going to be dragged around by the collars anymore? We have tried, ladies and gentlemen, the nice guy route when it comes to no fall weddings. And the nice guy route clearly is not working. Okay? We are clearly still being used and abused on this front. What part of no fall weddings is unclear here? Anyone? Bueller? Fry? I refuse to allow this to happen. Don't tell me this is equality, okay? When not a single man alive wants this to be happening in the fall. And it's the most popular wedding date of the year. Who among us needs to grow a pair out there? Make it happen, ladies and gentlemen. Next up, at number 2 on the show today. I can't believe I didn't do this yesterday. And I don't know why it slipped my mind, but it was 1 week ago today. As a matter of fact, it was at 5:45 p.m. a week ago today. Here's what happened. I don't know how many of you guys know this. I got to sit in on a taping of Late Kick with Josh Pate. We were in Nashville. I know that he does his show in Nashville from the 24/7 Sports Studios. I texted Josh. I said, hey, Josh, we're in Nashville. The wifey and I would be great to put a face to the name. He said, awesome. How would you like to come see a live show? And I said, hell yeah. So the wifey and I, he said it's in the Country Music Television Building, 24/7 Sports is. So it's the same studios, same building that is Country Music Television in downtown Nashville. And so the wifey and I go to downtown Nashville. He has an assistant come down the elevator, open the door, get us through security, go upstairs. And the wifey and I spent about an hour with Josh Pate before his show, then sat in the producer shield with his 2 producers during the show. Was the most high-end opera. I couldn't believe, like, it's not like I didn't know his show was a big deal, folks, but I'm telling you, that could not be more high-end of an operation if it tried. Like, it's as high-end as it gets. He showed us all around the entire offices, which was really, really neat. Showed us the studio where he did his show. We got pictures. I posted them on Twitter. Then after the game, after his show, I said, can I get one game of ping pong with you? Because he's always posting videos of him playing ping pong with management. And he said, sure. And folks, I led that game against Josh Pate 11-9. I'm good at ping pong. He's great. I led 11-9. He won 21-14. He outscored me 12-3 the rest of the way, but I led at one point 11-9 in the game, and I will hold on to that. But he beat me going away 21-14 when all is said and done. And I wanted to bring you guys into that because I realized I forgot to share that with you yesterday. It was an incredible highlight of the trip, getting to spend probably 3 hours with Josh Pate in his Nashville studios inside the Country Music Television building with my beautiful wife, Angela. Incredible experience. And we look forward to having Josh Pate on with us here again soon this year. And finally, at number 1, not an easy exercise to complete. But when you consider that Matt Olson of the Atlanta Braves leads the majors in home runs, leads the majors in RBI, and when you consider that the Atlanta Braves have tied a record for the most number of All-Stars in a single season, 8, it begs the question, who are the top 5 Atlanta Braves? Who are they? If you were to rank the top 5 players on this year's team, channeling my inner Dave Matthews, what would you say? Sorry about that. I got number 5, Austin Riley. Number 4, Ozzie Albies. Number 3, Spencer Strider. Number 2, Matt Olson. And number 1, Ronald Acuna Jr., even though Matt Olson has better power numbers than Ronald Acuna Jr. right now. If you were to give me your top 5 Atlanta Braves, rank them in order, give me 1 through 5. Let's hear what you got right now. I shared with you yesterday, I think Braves fans are in an uncomfortable spot right now. Do you guys believe that this Braves season is in fact World Series or bust? I mean, is that where you're at as a Braves fan? What do you say? And those are today's top 5 at 5. Now it's your chance to chime in, which you can do at 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-FANFONE. That's 844-326-3663. The CarPro.com text line is there for you at 71307. Just start your text with the word fan and away you go. You can get to us on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube at The Fan Upstate on all 3. Please like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to us on YouTube. We'd love to have you on the YouTube page. And finally, email. You guys can all email the show. You can do so. Spur Daddy has done so today. Thanks for the email, Spur Daddy. Marc Ryan, that's M-A-R-C Ryan, at thefanupstate.com. All the different ways you can get in touch with us here on the most interactive sports radio show anywhere. All right. Texter says, call me Eileen because I know I don't have any power in my relationship. So says a texter. Texter wants to know, Mark, is Odie the leprechaun of Lyman? No, unlike the leprechaun of Lyman, Odie has never been run from the Jim Rome show. So the leprechaun of Lyman has been run, buzzed, kicked off of the Jim Rome show. That has never happened to my guy, Odie. Texter says college football should have one Saturday during the season where there are no games. And all weddings have to be planned for that Saturday only. Oh, man, but what about if you're not getting married? We got no games for a whole weekend. What does the NFL just take 2 days that weekend? One weekend with no games? It's not a bad idea, honestly, Texter. Like, I don't hate the idea, but you only have weddings once, right? Guys, I won't go to a fall wedding other than my own. I won't go. You invite me, I'm not going. Sorry, I'm not going. That's where I draw the line. Okay? And I'm here to speak for all men of the upstate when I say we will not stand for this anymore. I'm not standing for it. You're not standing for it. Texter says, Mark, you're going to cause a lot of dudes to have to sleep on the couch tonight. Laughing my ass off. Listen, guys, I'm a big believer in picking your battles. There's some folks who they want to quarrel with you every single day, right? Maybe you've got a relationship like that, and if you do, I feel sorry for you. But I'm a big believer in picking your battles. Understand the difference between mountains and molehills, right? Understand the difference there. This is a mountain. You do not schedule weddings. You do not make the number one wedding day the same day as Clemson and Florida State, even though Clemson's going to win that game by double digits. Let's see here. Mark, the Braves are better than the stanky Yanks. Of course they are. The Yankees suck. Texter says, Mark, your top 5 Braves are the same as mine. Yes, this season is World Series champs or bust. I mean, it feels that way. But then you realize that you got 3 chances out of 4 not to win the World Series this year. You got specifically a 73.6% chance of not winning. Texter says, I will go to your fall wedding only if it's an open bar, but you sure as hell will bet that I have football on the entire time I'm there. Texter says, college stadiums need wedding venues. Bring the wedding there. It's called compromise, ladies. Ladies, compromise. I'll never forget, Odie. There were these extremely high maintenance group, an extremely high maintenance group of ladies that was upset a few years ago that they had set all of their bachelorette parties for Nashville, and they didn't realize, as if this is someone else's fault other than their own, that the NFL draft was going to be in Nashville that weekend. So they weren't paying attention to sports. They made their bachelorette parties, and then downtown Nashville is a zoo, and all these high-maintenance Sheilas are upset about it. I've never felt less sorry for anyone in my life than that. Never felt less sorry. Get out of the fall, Forget about it. I would rather get married in 98 degrees in July, than get married in the fall. I'm just not going to do that. You know why I did it. You know why I did it. And I will tell you what, my old man and I were watching Florida and Georgia, in the cabin, until at which point the game was no longer competitive and I was called out to begin the wedding. We're in there watching it up until the very, very last minute. Let's see here. Texter says, as soon as I got up from my knee in front of the Rockefeller Christmas tree asking the question last year, I told my wife, see, this is a real man among us. I respect this. I told my wife it is not happening during the football season. Did she agree to that, sir? Did she agree that you were going to be able to call the shot there? I hope she did. You have earned the right to say that, sir. September 23rd, the most popular day for weddings. Get the hell out of here with this. Do you guys not realize what we've been doing? We've been looking forward to this time of year, the whole year. All right. Coming up next on the show, my friends, why is it that we only do this with this particular sport? I'll tackle that next here on the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Marc Ryan and Diesel with Odie sitting in admirably right here on the Fan Upstate.